What's going on, my peoples? Kevin King Supreme in the building, back with another video from Okay Beatz. And in this tutorial, we're gonna make a beat and just do some very slight mixing with stock plugins. Nothing but stock plugins today, guys. You know, I'm not saying the sounds we're gonna use are coming from stock plugins. We'll make another video like that. But for now, we're gonna use some sounds and we're gonna use stock plugins to mix those sounds up once we got something that we like. So let's just get in the vibe and you know, hopefully y'all get some gems as usual. Anyways, let's go ahead and open up FL Studio over here, and here we got the mixer window. We don't need that for now. We need to open up the channel rack, and then at the channel rack we're gonna go ahead and drag some sounds in there. I was playing with this 808 a little bit earlier, so I'm gonna go ahead and drag that in the 808 section right there. And then we're gonna go ahead and put a kick on that too. That's a hard kick right there. We're gonna go with that one. By the way, my peoples, this is all using the OBS bot Tiny 2 Lite, which came in the mail for me not too long ago. I will be recording all my videos with this camera from now on. It's fire. It's a 4K webcam and it has tracking, and it fully integrates with my OBS and my computer in an instant without having to download any software. Although I could download a software for it, which is the OBS Bot Center. That's a software for the computer. You know, we could use really awesome features, like I could use hand gestures to control some of the actions of the camera. Like, for instance, if I want to zoom in, all I have to do is put up this L right here, and the camera zooms in. And if I want to zoom out, I just put up 2 L's, frame my face. There you go. Another thing we could do is do the tracking. Test the tracking. See, I'm moving all the way to the left. It's going to try and keep me in the center. Moving all the way to the right. It's going to try to keep me center. So that's really, really awesome. I'm never having a problem recording because of that. Anywhere I move, the camera's going to follow me, and that's just dope. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom back in. And then if I want to stop the camera from tracking, all I have to do is put my hand up next to my face. There we go. So once I put the hand up next to my face, now it pretty much freezes the camera position, so it's not following me everywhere I go. But if I want to turn the tracking back on, just put my hand again, and the tracking is turned back on. So that's really dope and convenient right there. Anyways, we're gonna get back into the beat. Pick a clap. I like that. As you can see, I don't like spending too much time. I go to my go-to sounds that all sound good at the end of the day. So, you know, this is work happening in the background, like without y'all having seen anything. You know, I organize all of my sounds so I get the quality stuff. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to spend too much time looking for sounds. Sometimes I do open up a session where I want to find sounds, and, you know, I just go through mad different sounds. I just have them kind of in some files somewhere, and I just go through sounds, try to create a vibe, and then we go from there. But when I want to create something fast, I go to my go-to sounds. All right? It's a dope hat sound right there. Dope little percussive. Go to my hi-hats. Wow, look at that. Like, I don't even waste time. Let's see if we could create a little vibe going on here. First of all, let's bring this tempo all the way down to like 102. We're going for a Detroit style trap type vibe, about 102 BPM. Let's see what that sounds like. And then we're gonna start off with the triple kick or whatever. Let's hear it. Go ahead and turn this loop point off and cut itself by 2. So basically you won't get the clashing. And also I want to bring pattern all the way over here. Let's see what this sounds like. Okay. Same thing with the kick. Okay, we're gonna make sure that it cut itself. Alright, so that's a little something we got going on there. like that. Okay. Let's see what we got over here. Let's put that clap where it belongs. Alright, so let's go ahead and add a little bit of percussion here real quick. Make sure I take that loop point off and cut self as well. I want to shorten this real quick, so I'm going to go ahead and hit up this envelope right here. Turn on that envelope and bring down this attack time all the way down. Shorten that hold right there, and bring this decay, sustain, and release down too. Let's see what that sounds like. Much better. Alright, so and then I'll do some triplets here as well. Up. Turn off them loop points. Cut self. Gotta do that with most of these sounds. Let's just get creative with the hi-hats. Alright, so now I want to go into the piano roll for this hi-hat because I want to get a little bit more intricate with it. I'm going to go ahead to this little magnet up here and bring this to, yeah, it's already in 1/4 steps. Okay, so it means we could get really, really detailed over here. And I want to turn the volume of these down and kind of make it sound like it's shrinking, but just a little tiny tail. That's all. Let's hear that. Alright, so let's do the same thing over here real quick. Alright, and let's do the same thing over here. Do that here too. So we got a nice little pattern here going. Turn this one up. I'll take this one up an octave. Okay. I like that. I like the way that sounds. Sounds really intricate. Very articulate. So let's go ahead and put a little triangle. Place that snare over here. We'll get into the channel rack. Alright, I like that triangle. I want to put like a little delay on that triangle though. So let's see what that sounds like with a delay. I like that. I like that. Alright, so we'll go ahead and shift it and move the swing a little bit. Let's see what that sounds like. I like that. I like that. Now, I want to add another percussion to it real quick. I love this sound, especially recently. There you go. It's like a little zap. Yeah. Like, this sound right here is like in most of my recent tracks because I love it. I just really love that sound. Let's hear what this sounds. I'm gonna put it in a random little place. I like that. Okay. So the next thing that we're gonna do, my peoples. Now listen to me carefully, because most people, they just kind of like stop working after this part. But that's not the right thing to do. You got to keep paying attention and you're going to learn something. Anyways, after we got this little pattern done right here, remember, this is just the drums. This ain't even no melody yet, guys. So after we do this drum pattern with some percussion and we got a little bit of details in there, now we're going to go ahead and create what I like to call is like a counter melody. You know, so it's not the melody just yet, but it's like something that's gonna complement the melody. In this beat, I don't usually do this. I don't always do this because there's no rules. But in this beat, I'm gonna leave the melody for the very last. And usually that means it's gonna be a simple melody. When I leave the melody for last, it's usually because it's a simple melody. And what's most important about this beat is the drum pattern and the groove. So let's go ahead and I like using this flex bass right here, which is a stock plugin from FL Studio. They usually got a lot of really cool sounds in here that a lot of people sleep on. But yeah, man, I'm gonna show y'all kind of how I mess with that real quick. All right, so let's get back to this DAW screen. And right here on the channel rack, kind of comes standard on the channel rack. It says flex bass. So we could click on that. We don't necessarily have to use a bass sound, but they have so many sounds to choose from. So I'm gonna go ahead and look for like a little pluck and just click on this synth pluck music box and see what that sounds like. Something real simple, you see that? So I'm gonna press R for record to arm the track, and then we're gonna go ahead and do this. Oh, hold on. Do that again. Alright. So as you can see, that kind of worked out right there. Here's the piano roll. This is what we got from that. It's just like a little counter melody, you know what I'm saying? So alright, so I like that. And we could get a little bit more detailed with this sound too. I really like this plugin because it lets you mess with a lot of parameters. We got this little stereo situation going on here. Let's hear that. Crystal. Alright, maybe a little lo-fi. Let's see what the delay sounds like. Let me mix it in a little bit more. And then let's mess with this filter. Alright, I like that. So now I'm gonna go in and try to create an actual melody. And I usually go for the Arturia synths, because for me those are like one of the best sounding emulations or virtual instruments that exist. I'm gonna open up some strings, augmented string by Arturia. Wow, we got this. All right. So just off the rip, that's already sounding beautiful, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and play the beat and try to create a melody to it real quick. Alright, so I like that. It's very simple melody, as I said, guys. I'm gonna arm the recording and press play. Oh, hold on. I'm supposed to start from the very beginning. Let me do that again. Nope. I like that. Let's hear that. Let's see what that sounds like real quick. And according to this piano roll, it looks like it's correct. So let's play that. I'm gonna go ahead and move this to the front. I'm gonna move this a little bit back, see what that sounds like. Let's play with this placement. That sounds about right. I like that placement. So now that we have a melody, we have a short counter melody, we have a drum pattern that we like. Now we're gonna go ahead and do a little bit of mixing, just to make sure that everything sounds good and everything is in its place. So in order to do the mixing, we gotta open up the mixer window, right? And then just mix this pattern down a little bit. Some people like to arrange the patterns at this point and create the song or the beat, but what I'm gonna do in this case is just do a basic mix down of my basic pattern here that I have. After I feel like I'm satisfied with the basic mix, then I'm gonna make a quick arrangement, and we're gonna see how that goes. So the first things first, I want to open up this channel rack again. So open up this channel rack, and I want to highlight all of my instruments from the top to the bottom. Click the top one and drag that click all the way down to the bottom. And then hit Command L. Once you do that, it's automatically going to send all of your sounds into the mixer. So now it's all organized and all labeled and everything, so you know where everything is located. So let's press play and look at the levels, kind of level it out as much as we can real quick. That's the first thing that we're going to do when it comes to mixing, is just level out the faders a little bit. Make sure things are not too loud or clipping or anything like that. And just kind of look for a comfortable level. One of the first things I like to turn down, or I like to pay attention to, is the hi-hats, because sometimes they creep up on you and they're not that noticeable, or the loudness is not that noticeable because it sounds good. But if you really pay attention to it closely, you'll notice that they stand out a little bit way too much, and they're very bright, so they can become annoying after a while. So what I do is I turn that down, and I turn it down all the way, and then I press play and see what it sounds like as it comes in, and see what's the best level for that. So here it goes. That's good right there. I think this clap is a little loud. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it down somewhat, not too much. The triangle is definitely a little bit loud, so I want to bring that down to about where the hi-hats are, maybe a little tiny bit louder. Here we go. There you go. Now this kick, I like to put the kick right next to the bass, so I'm gonna hold Option and move it with the arrows left or right. In this case, left. So I want my kick to be right next to my 808. That way I can compare the levels of the two and make whatever changes I need to. I want to make sure that kick is not passing -10 dB. I don't want it to pass -10 dB. Alright, and I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that the 808 doesn't pass -10 dB as well. Alright, so you want to match the clap a little bit with the 808 and the kick. Just make sure it sounds good. The levels usually around the same levels. Around the same level, not exactly, but you know, if you put them around the same level, you can kind of gauge it from there. So here we go. I like to put the elements of the melody near each other as well, and so I went ahead and put the pluck next to the main melody, which is the augmented strings. Let's hear what that sounds like. This percussion right here sounds a little bit too loud, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn that down because it's supposed to be a little bit more subtle than that. So let's hear that. Can't hear it. There you go. Very subtle. There you go. Now this other percussive sound that I told you I like in my recent beats, that one I want it to kind of stand out a little bit. So I'm just going to turn it down slightly. Since I turned so far everything else down a little bit, I want to turn that down slightly because I want to make sure it's not clipping. In my headphones, they sound good. It might sound good, but when you hear it on a different source, you'll notice that it's clipping or it's too quiet or whatever. But you know, for now, I know that usually that sound comes out a little bit louder than I want it to. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it down slightly right there, because I still want it to stand out. Good. So I like that. So now that the levels are in the general area where I want it to be, now I'm going to go ahead and give each sound the stereo separation that it needs, in my opinion. Not every instrument uses stereo separation. Instruments that are in the low frequencies of the spectrum, bass and kick, 808s and such, those are usually going to be in mono. So they're not necessarily going to move too much on the sides. You're not going to hear a lot of that content on the sides. You're going to hear it down the middle, down the center. That's why it's mono, because there's only one source. Everything else that you give a stereo field to, you want to hear it on both speakers, a little bit on the left, a little bit on the right, and you know, somewhere in the stereo field, wherever you put it. So let's go ahead and mess with the stereo field of each track, starting with the counter melody. We're gonna go from high frequency sounds to the lowest frequencies. Here we go. Just give that a little bit of separation, not too much. We want the strings in stereo for sure, so I want to give it a little bit more stereo separation than the rest of the stuff. Now you'll notice once you put it in stereo, it's going to get louder, or it's going to seem louder than it actually is. So it might start masking other things. So I want to go ahead and turn it down after I stereoize it a little bit. So let's hear what that sounds now. Much more balanced. Stereoize that triangle and the hi-hats just a little bit. Now this clap should be a little bit stereo. If it were a snare, then I would probably keep it in mono along with the kick and the 808. But since this is a clap, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a little bit of stereo. A little bit of stereo, just a little tiny bit. All right, so the kick and the bass, I do want to have somewhat of a little bit of separation between the kick and the bass. I'm gonna achieve that by making 808 more mono than the kick. So it becomes tighter, becomes more centered. It stands behind the kick more affirmatively. We'll hear how that sounds. I'll turn the knob the opposite way. You see it turn a little bit purple, and that means that I'm actually merging the channels more, making it more mono. So here that goes. See, I can already hear that the bass sounds really solid behind that kick. That kick doesn't really need much treatment. You know, that 808 sounds much more solid now that I've merged the channels a little tiny bit. I'm starting to get a sound that I like more and more. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do now, I'm gonna go ahead and create an arrangement. So now I'm gonna exit out of those other windows, and I'm gonna go to this window right here, which is called the playlist editor, or the arrangement window. As you can see, playlist arrangement, whatever. So there's gonna be this little pattern right here. I'm gonna go ahead and right click on that and go down to where it says split by channel. Split by channel is gonna separate all of my sounds to where now I can highlight all of them by clicking at the top one, hitting shift, and clicking at the bottom one. And that way I highlight all of them. Now I can drag that in the actual playlist. I like to start at track 5 because I like to give myself some space at the top over here just in case I want to add some things to there and have total control of it. So now that I have all my sounds in the playlist editor and they're already highlighted and they're also labeled over here, now what I'm going to go ahead and do is hit Command B and just keep repeating that same pattern. This is all for the sake of time, guys, remember. And I want to achieve about a minute and a half long beat. I just keep an eye on this little time that pops up over here in the top corner of the screen as I highlight this measurement bar right here. I think with this one, there we have about a minute and a half right there. So now I'm gonna go ahead and create the different sections of the beat. I wanted to start with the 808, but not the kick. I don't want the clap. I do want some hi-hats and triangles, so I'll go ahead and leave that percussion. I'm going to get the plucks out and see what that sounds like real quick for an intro. Oh, I gotta put this in song mode and press play. I like the way that sounds. I'm not trying to create a beat right now that has a really long intro, really short intro, and get right into the drums. And yeah, let's get to it. Alright, so these type of beats, I've been letting the chorus or the hook run for about 4 bars, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4 bars right there. So what I do is to start the verse, I'll go ahead and cut the 808 for about 2 bars, and the kick, I might as well cut that too. Let's see what that sounds like. I'll go ahead and drag some of this hi-hat out of here and let that start late, and I'll do that for the second part of that too. Cut the bass off there too. So far, I like the way that that's going. So towards the end of this verse over here, I want to go ahead and create like a pause before the hook comes back in. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of these that I want to be affected, and I'm going to go ahead and drag on the tail of that, drag that tail back, and just create this big pause right there. So let's hear what that sounds like real quick. So I like the way that's sounding right there. So then obviously the hook comes back in right after that. What we're gonna do is I'm going to highlight this entire thing by holding Command and A. And that's gonna highlight everything. I'm gonna hit this stop over here so the playhead could go all the way to the beginning. I wanna create an automation clip with the master channel. So I open up the mixer window, highlight this master track over here. I'll right click on the fader and I'll go to create automation clip. This is going to create this clip right here. From this clip, you'll be able to automate your master level. So I'll go ahead and copy this little ball over here and paste it right about here, and then drag this one all the way down so that it can fade out right here. And then I'll curve out this little, that little line right there so that it could fade out gradually instead of just kind of like linear. And that, my people, is how you create a little fade. But let's continue to listen to this beat and see what other little things we could do to it. I know off the bat I want to add my watermark, which is my daughter saying Okay Beatz in different ways, in different recordings that I have.
Okay Beatz, baby.
I'll use that one, drag that in there, and then when I do that, I like to open it, go to the track, and click that little track button right there. So that's gonna bring it into my mix window, and I know that I recorded these a little bit hot, so I'm gonna bring that fader volume all the way down. So that's about a healthy level there for that watermark, and then I'll go ahead and sprinkle that at the very end just to be possessive. Nah, I'm just playing. Now I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little bit territorial about my beats. I do put my watermark on almost every single one of my beats, honestly. I don't care what people say. Y'all gonna hear those watermarks on everything, man. You know what I mean? Because people gotta know who I be. So yeah, I got the watermarks on there, got the beat arranged, got the beat mixed down basically, and then we got this fader and the automation up here. So what's left is to just make sure that the whole master track isn't clipping, and then I'll just mute this limiter over here just to make sure that everything's at a good level. So let's see what that sounds like.
Okay Beatz, baby.
Doesn't look like anything is clipping, so that's really good. The last thing I want to do to this beat, because this is a very basic beat, my peoples, I just want you to know that from the jump, that this is nowhere near finished, but we are getting somewhere. And usually it takes more than one day to make a beat. It takes minutes to make a beat. But to make a great beat, or to make that beat sound really good, you want to stop working on it, come back to it, listen to it again, continue working on it. All right, let's see what the SoundGoodizer does. Right here, SoundGoodizer. Once again, this is a stock plugin, guys, but it sounds really good. Let's hear it.
Okay Beatz, baby.
Notice how it automatically lifted that level of the master bus. Damn near close to zero, damn near close to clipping. So we want to turn this down. So I like this setting right here. I like this intensity. You know, it's not too drastic, and it's bringing the level up to a ideal listening level. So I'm just gonna leave that like that. Like, that's exactly how I want my levels to sound, my beat to sound, and you know, I'm pretty satisfied. So yeah, guys, the link for this OBS Bot Tiny 2 Lite 4K webcam with tracking ability and hand gesture control. The 4K capability is just so clear, as you can see. That's what I'm using right now. This is basically my go-to camera now, guys. I hope you guys got some gems. Get the camera. I hope you learned how to make a beat from scratch and just basically mix it and, you know, balance the levels so that you can work on it again later on. That's it, guys. Appreciate you for listening. This is Kevin King Supreme. Go to www.okbeatz.com to get your beats and get your mixing and mastering services and other audio products as well. Check out our large catalog of music on all streaming platforms. You can look for Kevin King Supreme. You can look for Chapo 156. You can look for Kilo Brian La Leyenda. And you can also look for Jandiel El Nene Royal. Hashtag Area 56. That's Okay Beatz for you, my people. So y'all already know. Peace.